So the purpose of today's session is initiating answer writing for you all. So what all do we need in answer writing? What is the basic structure for an answer writing? The structure that we'll share today, don't simply replicate in your geography optional, try to replicate across your answers. So in your GS 1, 2, 3, 4, each subject requires a specific language component. For example, ethics के लिए the same topic, if there is CSR in your GS paper 2 and if there is CSR in your GS paper 4, the language would be very much different. So there are few things which are common for answer writing. So if I start off with the answer writing, few things which are common, whereas few things which are very much specific. Okay, so the things which are common, okay, the things which are common. One, there should be structure. Second, there should be analysis. Third, the presentation. Fourth, the language. Here, language is something I would write as a being specific. So every paper has its own language. Your GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4. All of you know the subjects under GS papers. History, geography, society is in your GS paper 1. The things which are common, like as an evaluator, these things which are common, कि structure है कि नहीं है, answer writing में analysis है कि नहीं है, how is your presentation, demand, are you meeting the demand of the question or not? So these are things common. If you understand, if you can fit what is a structure, if you understand what is analysis, if you understand the presentation कैसे करना है, this will be applicable in all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas language is more specific. For example, when I said CSR, corporate social responsibility, this can be asked in your GS paper 2 polity. This can also be asked in your GS paper 4 ethics. ठीक है. अब corporate social responsibility as a concept in your GS paper 2, you will write about the board of directors, the executive, the institutional procedures, right? That you'll write it, or about the governance aspect, the governance and the institutional aspect. Whereas the same topic of CSR, if I write in ethics, I will have to write the ethical terms like corporate social responsibility. If there is corporate social responsibility, then in ethics, I will have to talk about altruism. I will have to talk about social responsibility, giving back to the society. Okay, something that the corporate earn from the society, giving back to the society. So here the same topic, but the language gets different. And this is more applicable in your geography paper, in geography optional paper. Right. So if you're writing Malthus, if you're writing marks, I would not expect you to write the same thing in your GS paper 1 geography. So GS paper 1 geography ke liye language would be different, and for your optional, the language would be different. Okay. So this is something you'll have to learn. This comes under the content part, the keywords part. So if you are able to write the keywords, for example, ecological pyramid. If I talk about environment, have you written ecological pyramid, the pyramid of numbers, biological pyramid, the biomass, the linkages, the food chain, the food web? ये specific terms होते हैं which differentiates your answers from the other answers, which differentiates your answers from the other GS papers also. So we'll have to know about the specifics. We'll have to know about the keywords. For example, अगर Malthus वाला question है, तो essays on the principle of population in 1798. Right? This is something very specific for your particular theory, for your particular optional. So this is the language component. ये language पे जिसका पकड़ है, जिसको keywords आते हैं, the one that can differentiate 1, 2, 3, 4 GS papers and the optional papers will have an edge over the other candidates. So one thing, that is the keywords and the language. So now, what are the things that are important for me as an evaluator? Some people, do you know what is the minimum marks that has anybody of your friend written mains or your relatives written mains, या उसकी बाजू वाली ने, उसके बाजू वाली ने, किसी ने mains लिखा है? कम से कम नंबर कितना मिलता है? Minimum is 30%. For example, as in 25%. तो 250 का 25%, 50-60. Minimum इतना UPSC देती है, ठीक है. तो मिनिमम मार्क्स 50 से 60 मिलता है, क्योंकि बच्चा लिख के आया है, इतनी मेहनत की है, 3 घंटे बैठे हैं, तो 50 नंबर तो देती ही है, ठीक है. आउट ऑफ 250, दैट इज अराउंड 25% ऑफ द मार्क्स. व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम मार्क्स? 55%. This was 25%, and maximum marks say about 120 you will get. Ethics paper gets an exception. Ethics paper में 160 भी जाता है, ethics paper में 90 भी जाता है, and 50 भी जाता है. But on an average, if I say on an average, 120 marks. If there was a time when people, they scored 450, 440 in all the GS papers, it was considered as a good score. अरे 440 marks मिले, यानी हर पेपर में 110 मिला. It was considered a very good score in year 2016, 17 and 18. Now there have been variations, but 120 marks, 110, 120 marks. This is about 50%. तो 25% तो देगी, पेपर लिख के आने पे ही देगी UPSC. ये लड़ाई है. How to move from 25% to 50%? Now, the foremost important thing that differentiate, that will help you cross about 45% of the marks, 45% of the 50% marks, there is a pattern seen. जिन बच्चों को 25% मार्क्स मिलते हैं और जिन बच्चों को 50% मार्क्स मिलते हैं, इनके पैटर्न को अगर आप स्टडी करोगे तो one thing that is the most important thing is whether you have been able to fulfill the demand of the question. If you are not able to comprehend what is the question asking, and if you are not able to write according to the question, then you've not met the demand of the question, so you will be given some points for your participation, some consolation prize there. So if you are able to fulfill the demand of the question, then you will be getting around 45% of the marks. And उस demand के ऊपर आप कितना decoration करते हो, the decoration that you move beyond 45 to 55, the decoration, the things, the hacks that we say will help you move from 45% to 55%. So at least for 45%, we need certain basics. The basics like whether you are able to comprehend the question, whether you are able to write according to the demand of the question. Am I clear, all of you, with this? Now I'm moving on to the demand. So for fulfilling the demand, the question that I gave it to you today was the comparative analysis. The comparative analysis on the ideas of population, of Malthus and Marx. That was the question that was given. Give a comparative analysis on the Marxian idea and the Malthusian idea of population growth. Okay, of population growth. So you have to give the comparative analysis on the ideas of the population growth of Marxus and the Malthus. This was the question. Now we need to understand one thing, that this question, I will give you 4 or 5 questions on the similar line. So ये question था, this were the wordings of the question. This question is not same as, yes, this question is not same as write a short note, a short note on the ideas of the population growth by Malthus and Marx. This is one type of question. This is the differently worded question. This question is not same as point out the difference between the Malthus and the Marxist idea of population. I am saying comparative analysis. Give the comparative analysis. It is not same as point out the difference. It is not same as write the short note. It is not same as write an essay on the Malthus idea. Now, do you understand this difference? Can you understand the difference between question 1, difference between a question 2, and difference between question 3? All of you, we need to understand that the wordings are different. Therefore, the demand will be different. The difference between question 1, the difference between question 2 and question 3, right? Now, here, comparative analysis, I'm saying, is not same as. I'm saying comparative analysis, it not same as the differences. All of you, can you point out that, anybody can point out what is the difference between question number 1 and question number 3? Question number 1 और question number 3 में क्या फर्क है? When you compare and contrast, ये भी अच्छी लगती है और ये भी अच्छी लगती है, पर इसकी ये बातें अच्छी लगती है, इन दोनों में ये सिमिलैरिटी और इन दोनों में ये डिफरेंसेस हैं. So you are comparing. When you compare, you also take into account similarities and differences. So in a comparison, you take into account similarities plus differences. ठीक है. पूजा भी पसंद है और रूजा भी पसंद है, तो दोनों में ये सिमिलैरिटीज है और दोनों में ये डिफरेंसेस हैं. ठीक है. So can we now understand the difference between comparative analysis? Point out the difference. And short note तो अलग ही होता है. Short note is different, right? How is short note different from comparative analysis? Some of you, those who have submitted answers, what you have done is एक पैराग्राफ मार्क्स पे लिख लिया, एक पैराग्राफ मैल्थिस पे लिख लिया, दो पैराग्राफ्स हैं, दो शॉर्ट नोट्स हैं और बोलते हैं देख लो. See it for yourself. One paragraph on the Malthus views of population, one paragraph on the Marxian view of population, and ma'am, this is there, please compare. That's not comparative analysis. Comparative analysis is like उसके बाल, उसकी आंखें, उसके lips, and you compare on those basis. So you have a particular theme. And then you are saying, like, what was the thesis of Malthus? What was the cause of the population increase as per Malthus? What was the cause of population increase as Marxian? So, एक theme रहेगी where you are comparing and presenting either in the tabular form or in any other form. So, I hope all of you are able to get this difference 1, 2, and 3. Now you are understanding that demand of the question will change as per the wordings of the question. Give a comparative analysis is different from present the similarities and differences. Sorry, present the differences. It is different from write a short note. So very first thing is, while you are reading your paper, while you are reading any question, is to look at the wording of the questions. This is not only important for your mains examination, also for your prelims examination. One word here or there changes the option, changes your correct answer. So it is very important to have this reading comprehension skills, and that is why this is a part of your CSAT paper, to have some basic reading comprehension skills. Right? All of you, am I clear with the demand of the question? The first important thing is the demand of the question. Is the demand of the question here. Okay, once the demand is met, you will be able to cross the threshold of 45% of the marks. Uske baad, from 45, you have to move to 55 to 60% of the marks. The first important thing is understanding the demand of the question. आपसे पूछ रहे हैं आपका नाम क्या है? You tell मेरा पता क्या है? I'm not asking you that. And that happens even in the normal life. Even in your normal life, something is asked to you and you answer something else. So you have to be very careful in addressing the demand of the question. Comparison is same. See, I'm saying the difference between a short note, the difference between a comparison, and the difference between differences. In one question, I said, write a short note on the Malthus and Marxian view of population. In second, I say comparison. That's the same as comparative analysis. It is the same as compare and contrast. So when comparative analysis, compare and contrast and comparison is asked, it will mean the same. Right. I said there is a difference between comparison and differences. Those who have also submitted the answer, the first mistake was 2 short notes were given and you find it for yourself. The second mistake was only differences were pointed out. Malthus ne ye bola, Marx ne ye bola. Nobody actually pointed out the similarity aspects also. So that's what my point is here. The first thing is the demand of the question. Once you understand the demand of the question, then we'll move on to the slab portion. Structure hai ki nahi, language hai ki nahi, whether there is analysis, what about the presentation aspect. So first thing is the demand. And then from demand, I'll move on to the structure, language, analysis, presentation. Structure, language, analysis, and presentation. So I'll be dealing one by one with all of them. First was a demand. The second was the structure, analysis, language, and presentation. Okay. Now, what is a structure? What is a structure? What do we mean by language? What do we mean by analysis? What is mean by presentation? Presentation is simple about how legible is your handwriting. Can I read it? Understand, the person who is evaluating your answers is about 65, 70 years of old age. So you cannot write in those and size words. And utna space bhi nahi hai ki you will have to fill the 2 pages and you write in the and size words. You'll have a little big handwriting and have a legible handwriting. Okay? That is one aspect, and I'm writing it later because it is not as important. Structure. What is structure? Many of the candidates, they face simply when I'm telling you to write an answer. When I'm telling them to write an answer, they will write like this. When I look at their questions, when I look at their answer, I say, where is the introduction? Where does your body begin? Where is the conclusion? I cannot see that. If you can just take your page, anybody of you have written an answer? I start with this. All of you, can you see this? From the distance, can you tell me where is the introduction, where is the body, where is the conclusion? I cannot understand where does the intro begin, where does the conclusion happen, and it is, see, this. As compared to this, if I take into account, yes, even this one, see, where is the intro? Where is the body? Where is the conclusion? I don't understand. That's what I'm saying, structure. Here, though it has been written in differences, this one, this I can understand there is a difference written, but I cannot see intro and I cannot see conclusion. I cannot see where is the intro here, where is the body, and where is the conclusion here. I don't want this. So here, structure means your organization of the answer should be that there is an intro, I can see that intro, there is a body, I can understand this is where the intro ends, this is where the body begins, and I can see between the intro and body is a very important component for your geography optional is the diagram. So intro, diagram, body, and the conclusion. I can understand ये intro यहाँ finish हुआ, the diagram is here, the body begins here, and then you have the conclusion, So when I say structure, I mean I could be differentiating the answer into various bodies, and in the body also. So here you have the structure. The structure means I understand this is the intro, this is the diagram, this is the body, this is the conclusion. And in the body too, I have the various headings and the subheadings. The headings and the subheadings. I would like to take an example of the topper Duru Shetty Reddy. If anybody of you have been able to see his answers, you will be able to understand that how beautifully he actually makes the heading from the question itself, makes the heading from the question, has some headings, has some examples. That's like what does the structure means. Okay, not too many words written, 150 words, 200 words, and not too many, and despite that has got so good marks in GS. The reason is it is so much visible for your examiner. The more easy you make it for examiner to read, the better it is. The examiner, a 70-year-old person, 60-year-old person, we cannot expect him to read line by line, to read word by word. He does not have the incentive, he does not have the luxury of the time as well. Now, unko itna monetary compensation hai ki he reads, na hi unko inta time hai that he reads. So the more easy you make it for your examiner to read things, the better it is for you. It is for your purpose, and that is why when you make synopsis, that is why when you make notes, you have to get these prerequisites in your answer writing. And this is not just for geography optional, this is also for your GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay. So you have intro, you have diagrams, especially after the intro in the geography optional, the body, which should have headings and subheadings, and the conclusion. So this is the S part. So one, I understood what do I mean by fulfilling the demand, what do I understand by the structure. Why do I understanding the structure? There is a list of keywords, like many of you ask what is comment, what is critical comment, what is analysis, what does each word means. In your Telegram group, we will be providing with a YouTube link which tells you about the meaning of each of these words. It's a request, kindly watch that video. So this is about the structure part. Here, look at this. Now, does the examiner have an incentive to read this as compared to this? What do you think is more appealing to read? What do you think is more easy to read? A or B? A. That's what I wanted to point out. A is much more easy to read. I have an incentive to read as compared to the B. The examiner does not have the incentive, does not have the luxury of time. You have to get into the psychology of the examiner too. Right? Similarly, this. If this would have been here, there is no underlining. There is no underlining. As compared to this, look at this one. Okay, so there is no underlining, there is some underlining. What is the purpose of underlining? The purpose of underlining is to catch the attention कि ये पढ़ लो. इतना भी पढ़ लोगे ना तो बहुत है. ठीक है, इतना भी पढ़ लोगे तो बहुत है. The purpose of making a box is to catch the eye. Now what happens is people overdo that. I'm trying to see if someone has overdone. No, people overdo. They will underline each of the words on all of the words. The incentive is reduced. The purpose of underlining is to catch the attention. The purpose of boxes is to catch the attention. So when even you are underlining in the presentation, whenever you are underlining also, do that meticulously. Do that in a very nice manner. Okay, very meticulously, in a very nice manner to catch the eye. That should be the purpose of the underlining too. Okay, so this was about the demand, this was about the structure. In demand, I said, know what does each word mean. We will be sharing a YouTube link with you so that you can also understand the meaning of the word. Be very careful while addressing the demand. The second, I'm moving on to the structure. Structure means I want an intro. After the intro, we need a diagram, body and the conclusion. The body should have headings, subheadings. There should be good underlining also. Very meticulously you have to underline. So we are clear with the demand and the structure part. Right. So this was the demand and the structure part. So from the demand and the structure part, I am moving on to the, so one was demand, the structure, language, analysis and presentation. Presentation is about your language, structure is about the intro, diagram, body and conclusion. This is about the demand one. This is about the demand one. Now coming in the structure, one important thing is diagram. After the introduction, have a diagram. When I say diagram, what happens is, abhi to theek hai, not many diagrams are there in the Malthus theory and the other theories. Those who actually draw a diagram, a very important thing is you should have a neat and a labeled diagram. Don't simply give me an outline of India and you have done nothing and you've just done this and you say black cotton soil. Ma'am, black cotton soil hai, Gujarat, Maharashtra mein hai, dekh lo. Where is Gujarat, where is Maharashtra? You find it for your own self. And this is how you make a diagram. I'm not kidding, this is the diagram that we get. Scratching with blue pen, red pen, pink pen. And then it's like you have not labeled the diagram. So a diagram should be neat, a diagram should be labeled. Again, understand, the better diagram you have, the examiner will you get more marks, especially in your geography optional paper. On every one side, try to have a diagram. On your human geography also, if it's like the Malthus theory has been asked or the Marx theory has been asked, a vicious circle could have been shown. A vicious circle for the Marx theory. Marx theory, he says, capitalism divide. Because of the divide, the poor population want to increase the numbers, and therefore population, and therefore they become again poor, and again giving rise to the capitalism fuel. So this you can simply draw a cycle. You could simply draw a diagram and a table. I think somebody has drawn a table here. Yes, somebody has drawn a table here. So you simply box it and this becomes the diagram part. This becomes the diagram part. So after the introduction, it is very important to have the diagram in your geography optional. Even see, there is a diagram here, the AP-GP. There's a diagram here too, the AP and GP. So in the structure part, I have touched upon the diagram, I have touched upon the body part. We first understood the demand of the question, then we moved on to the structure. In the structure, the introduction, the diagram, the body and the conclusion. Diagram should be well labeled. Then you have, in the body, you should have heading and the subheading. Last में आते आते इतनी चीजें ध्यान रखने के बाद ऐसा लगता है इससे अच्छा लिखना ही नहीं है. But then the more you practice while making your synopsis, your notes, the better it gets ingrained in your answer writing. Okay. So what have we moved upon? We've moved upon to the demand, structure. In the structure, intro, diagram, body, conclusion. The intro, diagram, body, conclusion. Body, I said headings and subheadings, diagrams, neat and well-labeled. Neat and the well-labeled diagram. Neat and the well-labeled diagram. When I say neat and well-labeled, label yani you should have the names of the places. For example, if you're writing about black cotton soil, don't simply draw this and tell about the black cotton soil is here. A better candidate would be, what would be doing is, he would have written about it is a spread across Maharashtra and Gujarat. Okay, and in case he has some luxury, he will also write the properties of the black cotton soil. I hope all of you know about black cotton soil. Do you have some idea about the soils of India? In the soils of India, one type of soil is the black cotton soil, spread across Maharashtra and Gujarat and some portion of Karnataka. What are the properties? The properties could have been written here, like clay in content, black in color, what are the nutrients it is rich in. This becomes an added advantage for the candidate. Then you should be smart enough कि बहुत सारा information crunch ना करो, बहुत कम भी ना लिखो, बहुत crunch भी ना करो, because if you write too much, then that becomes disincentives. What is the most important thing is have the innovation to make the examiner read your answer. Make the examiner read your answer. That is what is the sole purpose driving of the answer writing. He does not know whether you've studied for 3 hours, whether you've studied for 5 hours, whether you've studied for 12 hours. He will judge you on the basis of the answer that you have written. Okay, so this is about the diagram. The diagram. Now, intro and the conclusion. Intro and the conclusion. Many of the candidates, like somebody asked me here, should we write a conclusion? Ashutosh asked me here, should we write the conclusion? Introduction to likhna hi padega, otherwise answer start kaise hoga? So introduction and conclusion, you can have a format. 3 type के intros हो सकते हैं, 3 type के conclusion हो सकते हैं. Intro क्या हो सकता है? Any intro can be a fact. You can start off with a fact. Okay. For example, जो women or literacy वाला question था, you could give me a fact that this is the number of child born to the mother who is 10 plus. This is the number of child born to a woman who is 5th pass. A fact linking that literacy determines fertility. A health parameters. For example, your national population policy says the fertility rate is dependent on 3 factors. Majorly 3 factors, the National Population Policy of India. And what are those 3 factors? The IMR, the MMR, and you are about the population base. Then the couple protection ratio also is taken into consideration. So when I say IMR, MMR, the infant mortality rate, the maternal mortality rate, it depends on what? It depends on the health of the mother. If the mother is healthy, there will be less IMR, there will be less MMR. And the parent is secure कि ये बच्चा जिंदा बचे. The generation above us, why were they giving birth to 10 children? The reason was उनको पता ही नहीं था कौन सा बच्चा बचेगा कि नहीं. यानी अगर IMR ज़्यादा है, अगर MMR ज़्यादा है, then they will give more birth to the children so as to be secure about whether the child will be saved or not. And less IMR, less MMR, the less is the fertility also. So this is a fact. This is a fact that you can give while writing a introduction. So your introduction can be either be a fact. The introduction can be a definition. Okay, simply write the definition of the fertility rate. The question about the fertility rate, simply write the definition of the fertility rate, or you can start off with the context. कि ये question पूछा क्यों है? नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे 5 आया है और बहुत सारे डेमोग्राफिक एट्रीब्यूट्स पे बात हो रही है, इसीलिए ये क्वेश्चन आया है. So either it can be fact, a definition, or the context, right? So you can, whenever you are stuck, what is the introduction that I make? You think, can I write a definition? Can I write a fact? Have I written some fact? Or can I relate it to the news and then write the introduction? रिपोर्ट या तो फैक्ट बताएगी या तो कंटेक्स्ट में यूज करोगे. तो जब फैक्ट यू बता रहे हो तो रिपोर्ट क्या है? रिपोर्ट इज अ सोर्स. नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे के हिसाब से ये लिंक है, WHO रिपोर्ट के हिसाब से ये लिंक है. सो रिपोर्ट इज द सोर्स. व्हेन यू आर राइटिंग अ फैक्ट, सपोर्ट इट विद द रिपोर्ट. So this is the 3 type of introduction. What are the 3 type of conclusion? How do I conclude? One way can be a way forward. ठीक है. The question about fertility. Just write about the population control requires attitudinal change. Meaning, if we have to control population, no matter what you do, You bring government policies, you educate women, you give good health to the women. One thing is important is बच्चे भगवान की देन है, ये attitude को change करना है, ठीक है? That we need. Otherwise, we'll not be able to control the population. So we need attitudinal change. So I'm coming on to a solution. I'm giving you a way forward, right? So introduction can be a way forward that is given a solution, or you can also write about the government schemes. The many government schemes, right? Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, 100% immunization, the women literacy, institutional deliveries, they are working on the same parameters to control the population numbers. So either you give me a way forward, or you give me the government schemes, or you can simply tell us about the summarization. Summarize whatever you have written, whatever you have written in the body, you are simply summarizing it for your examiner. This government scheme works very good for your GS paper 3. The economy portion, the agriculture portion, government GS paper 3 mein, you'll see many of the candidates, they are summarizing, they are concluding using government schemes. And way forward works good for your GS paper 1 society part. For the governance part, you will see many candidates writing about the second ARC. Second ARC ne ye bola hai. That's the thing they are giving the way forward. So code-based works for ethics also. So you can simply have these techniques across the GS papers, across your optional. So what is the type of intro? What do we need in body? What should be a diagram? And for optional, diagram is must. And the conclusion, the 3 types of conclusion. Now for your body part, one another important thing is the case study. The case study. What is a case study? Case study for geography optionals, case study for environment portion in GS, the case study for the society related. What is a case study? एक box बना देते हैं. People make a box in the body part. They write a case study and they write some content. What is a case study? A case study is nothing but a detailed example. Rather than simply writing an example in 2 words, you go into the detailed example. For example, Kenya, mein government ne ye policy lai, this benefited women, and you can see Kenya control its population. So you've given the detailed example. You might have study in your magazines, Norway model hai, there is Scandinavian model for the good health, the human development good for your Finland model. So what is that? That's nothing but a case study. And when you write a case study for your geography optional or GS, try to make a diagram. Small diagram. So if I'm writing a case study for Kenya, so I'll show where is Kenya. I try to show to the examiner, I know where is Kenya and what is happening in Kenya. A detailed example. For your geography optional paper 2, many of the candidates, what do? अपने गांव के बारे में लिख लेते हैं और उसके बाद अच्छा एग्जाम्पल लिख लेते हैं और केस स्टडी बना देते हैं. नहीं पढ़ी है, केस स्टडी बनानी है, मार्क्स चाहिए. फॉर योर ज्योग्राफी पेपर 2, द मार्क्स रेंजेस फ्रॉम 130 to 170. योर ज्योग्राफी पेपर 2 इज अ डिफरेंशिएटर, right? If in your geography the marks if is around 300, you will see that in geography paper 1, it is, if you go score about 145, it's a very good score. The differentiator becomes your geography paper 2. People score 130 to 170, as low as 90 also, if you've not met the demand of the questions. So geography paper 2 mein many of the candidates, they make case study. How do they make case study? ये तहसील है, ये district है, इसमें ये हुआ था और ये अच्छा है. So they try to innovate the case studies. पढ़ी नहीं, अगर पढ़ी है तो well and good, नहीं पढ़ी है तो the best word is जुगाड़ लगा लो and try to write the case studies. Don't do this for all of the 14 answers or 28 answers. You have to be very smart कि किसमें क्या करना है, किसमें क्या नहीं करना है. Many of the engineers, they are getting very good score. The reason is they know one thing, that is called as jugaad. We were discussing the case studies. I started off with the demand. We understood the demand. We understood the structure. In the structure, I said introduction. I said about the introduction. Introduction has facts, definition or context. What is a diagram? A diagram is a well-labeled presentation. A well-labeled presentation. What are the types of diagram? I will tell you that again. In the body, there should be heading, a subheading, and the case study. What is a case study? We were discussing that. A case study is a bigger example. A bigger example, 2-3 word elaborating the example, and you can have a diagram there to let the examiner know where is that place. The conclusion can be way forward, government schemes, or the summarization. So you can either write about the government schemes, the summarization, what you've already written in the body, or you can give the way forward. So way forward in the form of report. Don't tell that you are giving this way forward. Have some authenticity. Use your government schemes or some reports that you have. For example, fertility pe you can talk about WHO. You can talk about the International Conference on Population and Development, the ICPD conference. So that will give the authenticity to your answer. Okay, now diagram. The diagram, there are 4 type of diagram. You can have a hub and spoke diagram. This is the hub, the main thing, what factors control the fertility. What are the factors that control the fertility? You can write about IMR, you can write about MMR, the attitude towards the child, the type of economy, agrarian economy, where the son are seen as the asset as compared to the other type of economy. So this can be the hub, wherein the main theme can be written here and the factors can be written in the spoke. So this is one type of diagram called as hub and spoke type of diagram. There can be other type of diagrams like the flow chart, okay. Yeah, for example, there are various theories of population in theories, like you have Marx's view, Malthus view, we have Arsene Diomont, we have J.S. Mill, we have a Boserup theory. Many types of theories can be there. So this can be the flow chart, wherein you are telling the examiner, see, it's not simply that I know about Malthus and Marx. I also know about the other theories like Arsene Diomont, I know about J.S. Mill's viewpoint, etc. So flow chart so as to showcase your knowledge. And then the third type of diagram can be the circle. The circle, that is, one will lead to the other will lead to the third, then this, then this, and then this. So you can make a vicious circle, virtuous circle. A best diagram is none of these. A best diagram is the map. A map of the world, a map of India. ठीक है, map of the world, map of India. Those who don't know how to make world map, always start with the equator. Always start with the equator. So along the equator, and a very good aspect would be know about the countries. For example, if I ask you, equator passes through which countries in South America? Anybody can tell me? Brazil? No, not Peru. Brazil, Ecuador, and not Venezuela, Colombia. So equator passes through ECB. Okay, I told you I just make mnemonics because that helps me remember things easy. So equator passes through ECB. Your ECB is also known as external commercial borrowings in. Yeah, that can also be done. External commercial borrowings. So your Ecuador, Colombia, and Brazil. That's how it is. Ecuador, Colombia, and Brazil, from west to east. So you should know that. And if you have an idea of the world map, that will help you in making the world map also. This will help you in your prelims examination and also in your making the world map. Why do I say that? I know that Isthmus of Panama ऊपर है, ECB, Ecuador पहले, Chile इधर है, फिर Brazil है. Then I can make this. So here, when you are making and something is running in your mind, you will make a better diagram. So try to make equator and then try to make the diagrams for yourself. So for South America, it is an inverted C. Okay, try to make things easier for you. It is an inverted, or this is a C. Then there are few steps, okay, 1 and 2 steps, and then you try to merge them. So that's how you will have to make things, something that you'll have to do it, you will have to innovate so that it makes your work easier. So those who don't know world map, try to see C kahan ban raha hai, 3 kahan ban raha hai, triangle kahan ban raha hai, and try to do that for yourself. India map, again the same thing. Try to see where I can draw the heart, where I can draw the brackets, where is the line going, where I can draw the small caps. What about the Nepal? What is there in Sikkim? How do I make northeast? And then how do I integrate them? So, and keep on practicing it, keep on sketching it. You come here 5 to 10 minutes earlier in the class, sketch those for yourself. Sit down after the class for 5 to 10 minutes, sketch those, and then leave. You do this for 1 week, you yourself will see the change in you. I'm not saying the change will come in 2-3 days, but 1 week is good enough a time to bring in a change. Okay, so which is the best diagram? The best diagram is your map, the map one. So what we have done so far we've understood the demand. What is a demand? What do we understand by structure? What do we understand by a structure? Then I am moving on to language aspect. Now the language aspect, I have already touched upon some of it. Like a language for GS paper 1 is different from GS paper 2, is different from GS paper 3, right? Is different from GS paper 4. जब इकोनॉमी का पेपर लिखोगे तो टर्म्स यूज करोगे ना, टैक्स डेफिसिट, टैक्स टू जीडीपी रेशो, द इन्फ्लेशन स्पाइरल, द इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ द इकोनॉमी. These are the keywords which you will specifically use in economy. So you should have these keywords in your hand. Inflation will go up, inflation will go down. इससे अच्छा use the word inflation spiral. Right, that is giving brevity to the answer as well as you are using the keywords. Okay, so language means what? Language means the language that is specific to the paper, like that is specific to the paper. Okay, then the analysis part. The analysis part. What is the analysis part? When I say analysis part, this shows the depth that you have. The depth, like for example, there would be few candidates जिन्होंने Malthus लिखा होगा but नाम नहीं लिखा होगा book का. There would be few candidates, those who would have written the name and the year. And here also the year is 1790s. I would better appreciate if somebody would have written 1798. ठीक है, 1798, very specific. No book name, no year name. So probably this candidate knows. Probably he is also written at the back. I'm not very sure. Yes, he's not written at the back. But this shows depth. This shows that this person has read from the books. This person also would have read from the book, but it is not being shown here. So the analysis part gives that 45 to 55. The analysis, demand was there. The diagram, the case studies, and how far you make it easy for the examiner. How far you make it easy for the examiner. So what is analysis? Analysis means whether you have written the name of the book, whether you've written the name of the year in which the publication was there, whether you have written the name of the philosophers, right? Linking the philosophers, those who've written the answer on fertility, fertility and women wala. And if you would have written the answer and you would have written Arsene Dumont, if you would have written J.S. Mill, that means you are connecting it. You are connecting what you have read in paper 1 and connecting it with that of the paper 2. So paper 2 is what? How far are you able to connect paper 1 to your paper 2? So that will show your depth, that will show the analysis. So analysis can be in the form of book, whether you've written the name of the book, whether you've written the name of the year, or whether you've written the philosopher's name, and whether you've given the examples across the world. Across the world from India. So fertility, women, education and health linked to fertility. Have you been able to give the examples? Have you been able to relate Africa with that of the example? They've been able to fit the example to the demand of the question. Okay. So we've done a demand, we've done the structure, language, analysis and the presentation. And the presentation. The presentation is, are you able to write legibly? Is the diagram legible? Is there labeling? That is about the presentation. So these are the prerequisites for the answers. The demand, the structure, language, analysis and presentation. Demand and the SLAP. Structure, language, analysis and the presentation. This that you understand, you have to replicate in your GS answers. GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. This you'll have to replicate. And what is the thing that is most important needed for clearing your UPSC examination? See, very frankly, prelims has the highest level of competition. Once you qualify prelims, why do I say highest level of competition? Nearly 4 to 5 lakh give the examination, 14,000 qualify. 14,000 is the ratio. So the level of competition is highest in the prelims. But from those 14,000, nearly 2,500 will give interview. If I just talk about numbers, prelims, 4 to 5 lakhs, from 4 to 5 lakhs, nearly 14,000 qualify. 14,000 or 2,500, right, may qualify for your interview, and those out of this, what is the vacancy? Say let's say 800, 850 is the vacancy, and out of this 800, 850, the top 60 to 70 gets into IAS. That gets into IAS. So if I just talk about numbers, the highest level of competition is in prelims. But once you clear prelims, let me tell you, not many of them can write answers. Prelims is qualifying, uske marks nahi jodte. It is most important. But the one skill that is important for clearing your examination is the answer writing skill. The answer writing skill will differentiate you from the others. So one important thing is answer writing skill. And for answer writing skill, if you can fit yourself by repetitive continuous practice into this type of answer writing, into this type of notes making, into this type of synopsis making, that will be ingrained in your memory, right? In your paper, in your final paper, for 10 marks, any idea how many minutes we have? For 10 marks, you have 250 marks paper. You have a 250 marks paper. In this 250 marks paper, you have 3 hours. You have 3 hours. You get 3 types of question in optional. You get 10 marker question, a 15 marker question, and 20 mark question. For your GS, you get 10 marks and the 15 marks questions. 10 marks, you have a 7 minutes. 15 marks, you have a 10.5 minutes. Okay, and 20 marks you have 14 minutes. 14 minutes. Why am I telling you all this now? The reason I'm telling you all this now is, if I simply tell you to write this, okay, just by copy pasting, dekh ke likh lo, you will take 7 minutes. You will take 7 minutes. Sorry, you will take this and this, both you will take 7 minutes to write. Simply copy pasting. You're not thinking. You're not fitting the knowledge according to the demand of the question. The point that I'm saying is, either you have time to think or you have time to write. So now the more you practice while you are making your notes in this format, the more it gets into your neural memory, the more it gets into the muscle memory. That's the stage we want to achieve. We have to get into the muscle memory so that I can simply go and mechanically write there. Itna mechanically, those who are toppers, they would divide their essays 1, 2, 3, 4 into that. Ki this is the heading that I have to make. This is social, this is political, this is economic, this is. They'll not say social, political, economic, but then they ek dharre mein bana diya hai khud ko. Itna mechanical ho jata hai by practicing. The notes you make, try to use headings, subheadings, examples, case studies, data points. That is the base that you will revise. That is what you will replicate in your final answers. So this is what it is: demand and the structure, language, analysis, and the presentation. 10 marker is this, 1 and 2 sides. 15 marker is 1, 2, and 3 sides. And this is 20 marker is 1, 2, 3, and 4 sides. Okay, 4 sides. Paper 2 में कई बार गड़बड़ करते हैं, एक आधी पेज ऊपर कर देते हैं, नीचे तो नहीं करते, but nearly 50 sides have to be written. Ethics में time लगता है, ethics में case study होती है, तो ethics में you have to write more. Ethics में more pages are also given. And what happens is, ethics is the 4th paper. So what happens is you have 2 days, GS1 लिखना होता है, 9 to 12, then 2 to 5 GS paper 2. Next day they'll not give you break between GS. Then next day 9 to 12 GS paper 3, and next day last paper is GS paper 4, 2 to 5, and then you take a break, and then you can breathe, right? So writing means itself is a big experience. It's a huge experience that you, either one of the paper 1, 2, 3, 4 में से एक आधी paper ऐसा होगा जब you'll think नहीं लिखना मुझे, I don't want to write, no matter what, I don't want to write. And that papers, that moment when you can control and you are emotionally intelligent, that sails you through. Either in any, be it first year, second year, third year, one paper where you will feel I don't want to write, but then that's how you have to manage there. Okay? So this is your demand and the slab. This you will have to replicate in your GS papers too. Now with this thing in mind, all of you, can you please take this? We'll be giving you the 4 answers. We'll giving you the 4 answers. I'm not discussing on these answers. I'm not discussing the content for now. What you have to do is, keeping this story in mind, keeping these things in mind, now you look the answers. Now you look at the answers, and then you can see, okay, this is what I have to take from the model answers. This is what I have to do. Now you have your own answers. Try to look at the model answers. You yourself can give number. I can also come there and look for some of the answers. So here the first question was Malthus and Marx, the comparative analysis of the Malthus and Marx, the comparative analysis of Malthus and Marx. Okay, I am not telling you the content for now. The first intro could be about the views of Malthus and Marx comparing. Okay, he gave a biological theory and he gave the socio-economic theory. Malthus gave the biological theory, Marx gave the socio-economic theory on the population. In the diagram, try to write, you could have drawn the APGP graph of Malthus and the vicious cycle of the Marx. Then in comparison, it would have been better if you could have written like this. The heading, Marx and Malthus. What was the thesis? What was the cause of population increase? What about the solution? Both of them proposed a different solution. Not only this, now you have to write more. Okay? What was the view on the demographic dividend? Did Malthus talk about demographic dividend? Did Marx talk about demographic dividend? What about the ecological footprint? The ecological footprint, you know what does ecological footprint mean? The effect of development, the effect of population on the resources. Every day, every year, you get the world overshoot day, right? That itna resource tha for the year and we finished in half of the year only. So that is the ecological footprint of the development of the population on the earths and the resources. So who talked about, whether Marx talked about the ecological footprint or the Malthus said about the carrying capacity. So here, I know all of you would have touched upon this. At least upon this and this. Cause kya tha? Solution kya tha? When I say go for analysis, the A part out of the slab, the A part, this is what I'm looking forward. You have to keep your mind open. Who talked about demographic dividend? Who talked about the women? Did any of them talk about the women and them women's role in fertility control? No. So you have to write that in similarities. So here you could have written in the similarities. The differences could have been written. You can either write the similarities before or after the differences in the hub and spoke diagram could have shown the similarities. So on this basis, you'll have to think. You'll have to think and how do I introduce? What is the diagram I made? What in the body, how do I present so that it is appealing for the examiner? And how do I give the analysis part? I'll talk about women, I'll talk about the ecological footprint, I'll talk about demographic dividend. That's how you'll have to increase him. You will have to set the competition. He writes about ecological footprint. Before that, 5 copies are evaluated. The examiner does not realize. Once he writes about ecological footprint, the copies after this are penalized. That he has given a point, why could the other not think of? So your competition is among yourselves. Right? The one who actually gives more analysis, more dimensions, gets more marks there. The second question was about, yes? The more you read newspapers or the current affairs, see, you have to brainstorm. Now you've been taught about population. You've been taught about population. You've been taught about the fertility. You've been taught about the population and resource. Now, if I simply say, you give yourself 5-10 minutes thinking, whatever I read in current affairs, right, is population and resource. Both of them, they are talking about population and resource. One says that population size itni बढ़ जाएगी कि resources पे problem आ जाएगा. The other view says that population size is not an issue. The more population size fit into the good socio-economic parameter, fit into the good political structure can be an asset. Right? The third says, Arsene Diomond says, no, population and aspirations are inversely proportional. I am an aspirational person and I would like to limit the fertility. Okay, this all, so both of them, Malthus and Marx, are simply talking about population and resource. But Arsene Diomond gives a different angle, right? G.S. Mills gives a different angle. So you know this now. Okay. So what I'm saying is, you understand, you just don't simply read a concept to memorize and write in the examination. The kind of essays that you are getting, the philosophical essays, try to reflect on what you have studied and what you are relating in your current affairs. The same purpose is in the enrichment class. We tell us about the different ideas. That's what you will also have to get into. So while you're reading in the newspapers, for example, the present theme that is going in the newspaper is the ban on the wheat export. There's a lot of ban on the wheat export and the rising prices about the wheat and all. Can you relate? Why have the wheat prices increased? One, you will say Ukraine-Russia war. Okay, what about the Ukraine-Russia war? What? Why are they high exporters? My question is, why are they high exporters? Because they produce more. Why do they produce more? Because of the Grasslands. What grasslands are present? Temperate grasslands. The steppes are present. So what I've done is I've tried to interlink things. So you'll have to interlink while you're reading the newspapers. So how do you get these new ideas? While you're reading the current affair magazines, while you're reading anything, any article, don't simply read it for the purpose कि इससे examination में क्या question आएगा. Think about it, get into the reflective mode also. That will help you in essays and the answer writing. That's how you get new ideas. You'll have to apply yourself. The more you apply, the more you jot it down, that's better. And what is the trick for that? You read a heading. You read a heading from the newspaper. Before you start reading an article, pause. Give 2 minutes and try to write whatever you know in small bullets. And then you read it. And then you read it. जब खुद को नहीं आता, when you read that article, then you are like, okay, this is a new dimension. This gets engaged. There are two types of learning, passive learning and active learning. The more actively you learn, the better it is. So whenever, if I tell you about Malthus, if you are writing the answer of Malthus, what you know? Okay, I'm reading the model answer, what new dimension have I got? What is the diagram that I would learn upon? So get into the active mode of learning, that will help you in your examination. That will also help you in developing new ideas. The newspaper portion, Madhu, I said that whenever you're reading the newspaper heading, okay, say Russia-Ukraine war, okay, write what you know so far in the other side. Now you have applied your brain, you've thought about it. Now when you read this article, you will learn more. You are more receptive about things. You will know, oh, this dimension got missed by me. I have written this dimension, that makes you happy also. The more you are into active learning, the better you learn. That's what it is. The second question was about the women fertility. How many of you have attempted that question? Okay, couple of you. The women and the fertility. The question was investments in women health and education will lead to better fertility controls rather than coercive policies by the government. So if I just break the question, investment in women's health and education rather than coercive policies is controlling the fertility rate. Okay? That's how the question was. We have to invest in women's education and health rather than the coercive policies. And the comment was analyze. The question directive word was analyze. You have to analyze. How many agree with this statement? That if you invest in women education and women health, that will lead to better TFR control rather than coercive adoptive policies. I can see many of you agreeing it. Why do you agree to this? Let's forget about the intro body conclusion. I'm doing analysis. Why do you agree? What's the point? If I invest in women education, what will happen?
For example, the bed line, you see, above the bed line.
Okay.
You see, there is inspiration.
Okay. Okay. See what I'm doing? I'm getting into active. I'm asking points from you. Now, if I'll write, you will understand better. One point he says about the brand line. There has been evidences that if the women are educated, there is a TFR. Let's take the example of the fines. Fines. What is fines? The Scandinavian country: Finland, Iceland, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. So the fines. Let's take the example of fines. The second point. Yes. Anybody? She's aware. That's a keyword. See, aware of the reproductive rights. Aware of the reproductive rights. Good. Anything else? If there is education, there is less child marriages. If there is less child marriage, there is a delay in marriage. If there is a delay in marriage, there is control of the TFR. Control of the TFR. Yes.
Ma'am, when we educate women, they get empowered economically.
Great.
So they rise out of poverty.
Economic empowerment and aspirations. Economic employment and aspiration. What can I link here? Yes, I can drink JS Mill. I can use Unseen Diamond social capillarity theory. So we are analyzing. He says there's an evidences. He says the more you educate, there is less child marriage. There is delay in the marriage. Delay in the marriage reduces fertility, the economic employment, aspiration, and there is a GS Mill and your Arsene Diomont. Arsene Diomont. Yes. Yes, case study of the West European countries. That the case study of China is about the coercive adoption policy. The coercive adoption policies. Correct. So this is about the education part. Now what about the health aspect? All of you are talking about the education and economic aspect. What about the health aspect? The health aspect? The MMR, IMR, the childbearing age. So here if I invest in health, what do I have? I have healthy child, I have healthy mother. There is a less IMR, there is less MMR. If there is less IMR, less MMR, then what happens is the parents are secure that the child would be safe, and therefore they will not go on producing. Tau, mama, they will not say ki pata nahi bachcha bachega ki nahi. ठीक है? That's one. If a woman is aware about the health, right? She will give rise to there would be better nourishment. There nourishment of the child. And a child is healthy, again you reduce IMR and MMR in the security of the parents. So that's the health aspect. Now in this question, what do I write in the diagram? Can I tell? So on one aspect I have literacy, health, and the other aspect I have fertility. Can I relate that to the map of India? If you look at the literacy of UP and Bihar, okay, that's below national average. And you look at the TFR, that is above national average. If I look at the south, so there is north and south divide. If I look at the south, your Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, the literacy is above national average and the TFR is below the national average. So 1.8 to 2.1, whereas in UP and Bihar, they are about 3.6 to 4. So you can draw the map of India and relate these two dimensions, the fertility and the education. One, you can write about the case study from the world, Now the question was analyze. So if I would have to demarcate the answer, I could have written the intro according to a report or something like that. In the diagram, I can make the map of India, the map of world, and I can relate it to the fertility and the education. Education or literacy is linked to the fertility. Coming on to the body part, in the body, I would have given a separate heading for education linking to fertility, for health linking to the fertility. Health to fertility and education to fertility. Then I would have also touched upon the coercive policies. The coercive policies. That coercive policies have been a backlash. Now, there has been reversal of one-child policy by China. Why there has been reversal of the one-child policy? Though they managed to control their numbers, though they managed to control the fertility, but what about the other demographic attributes? Aging population contributes less to the economy, right? So they have been managed to control the numbers, but population का जो development है is not just about controlling the numbers. It is about effectively utilizing the population. Then therefore China has to reverse it. You can also give a counter saying that at times the coercive policies have helped in controlling the numbers. But there is a counter. There's a counter from India's policy. India, there was a forced sterilization, but still then there was population explosion as a reversal to the government policies. So the moment you fit in the policy in the case study, either in the pro, as in supporting, or against, you'll have to use the words carefully there. Yes, correct, Ambarish. That's Arsene Diomont. Even MA project. Anybody of you know what is MA project of the government? There's a MA scheme, MAA. MA scheme that says that they give awareness to women about the healthy needs of the child. And women, if it is aware, they will reduce IMR, there will be less MMR, and therefore there will be population control in the future. MA scheme. Yes, correct. There is PM Matru Bandhu Yojana, there is ICDS, many schemes there. You can write these schemes in the in your conclusion, that there have been efforts and the efforts have been taken in these directions. Okay. So this is how it is. In the coercive policies, you can write the case study of China, that China did manage to control the numbers, but that was not about population development. And this has been a reversal of the policies. There is aging population, there is less demand from the elderly population, less demand, therefore less economy growing. So one, you can write about the China's one-child policy. You can write about the backlash of the India's forced sterilization. Okay. So you can write. So it is important that you give the heading. The heading should be visible here. Okay, he is addressing this part of the question. She is addressing this part of the question, and he or she has also not left the third part of the question. So introduction, diagram, body, and then you have the conclusion. You have the conclusion that yes, for controlling the fertility, what do we need? We need attitudinal change. We need the attitudinal change. The attitudinal change towards the children, and one of the way that attitudinal changes have been done by the government is by schemes like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. You have ICDS, you have PM Matru Vandana Yojana, you have MA schemes, and so on. So we need way forward along with the government schemes aimed at this way forward. Okay? Yes, why not? SDG भी link कर सकते हैं. See, it's not about what I can link. What happens is, as a student, जब आपको कोई आंसर दिया रहता है, मैं ये भी कंटेंट डाल दूंगा, ये भी. It's not about the content that you have to write. You have to write 250 words. Are you able to structure? Are you able to give the depth? Are you able to present it? Have you fit the demand of the question? In many questions, it is very difficult to interpret the demand of the question also. If you look at the previous papers, your GS paper 2, you will be able to scratch your head and think, what is he asking? What is he or she asking? So the first most important skill is fitting the demand, and then learning about the answer writing skills. Mains ke marks will be counted. Prelims ke marks will be not counted. But prelims qualify karna important hai. Okay? So you have to get these skills. You have to get the skills for getting the name into your interview list. So one important skill is answer writing skill. The second important skill is elimination skill for your prelims examination. First, I will keep at answer writing only. The second is elimination skill. Okay? The intro, you can write about the intro, you can write about WHO report and the ICPD. There is International Conference on Population and Development. उन्होंने एक चार्ट ही दिया हुआ है कि इतनी फर्टिलिटी, 10th पास है तो 5 बच्चे होते हैं, 12th पास है तो 4 बच्चे होते हैं, ग्रेजुएशन है तो 2 होते हैं. They've given a chart. That's the data that the whole report says. It's not by me, it's by the ICPD only. So here you can write about the WHO. You can write about the ICPD, International Conference on Population and Development. And you can even tell me the definition of fertility. What is the definition of fertility? So write the definition of fertility, and you can write then WHO or ICPD. So here, I'll try to wind up the session. You can, after this, I can see some of the answers in the Telegram for the online students, and I can see the answers here too. Okay, then I'll wind up the class. Bye-bye.